The Reception of Mary Wollstonecraft in Early America. In 1792, when Wollstonecraft wrote her Vindication of the Rights of Woman, America was a new nation. It had recently emerged from revolution and was struggling to maintain its stability as its founders argued over the best form of government. During the Revolution, women had enjoyed many freedoms, because the nation relied upon the help of every citizen to free itself from the tyranny of the British. But when the war was over, women were expected to return to their place in the home. Women had hoped to share in some of the rights afforded to the citizens of the new republic, but the forefathers were not willing to give up their privileges at the head of society. Abigail Adams told her husband John to remember the ladies when framing the new government, but he did not. And Thomas Jefferson confessed that he never even considered the prospect of female education. However, there were other events in the world that perpetuated this talk of equal rights. In 1789, the French began their own revolution when citizens stormed the notorious Paris prison, the Bastille. Many idealists, like Mary Wollstonecraft, believed that the French Revolution's following so close on the heels of the American was proof that the cause for democracy was spreading across the globe, and for a few years there was a great deal of optimism. In America, even women enjoyed some reprieve from the restrictions placed upon them, and in New Jersey they were allowed to vote. But in 1793, the mood changed when Maximilien Robespierre, a member and later head of the newly formed National Convention in France, began what has been labeled the Reign of Terror. The Reign of Terror was a systematic annihilation of all people who were suspected to be against the cause of revolution. Many of those sentenced to execution by guillotine were falsely accused or brought in on trumped-up charges. This bloody ending to the French Revolution led America to fear for the stability of its newly wrought Constitution, and those who continued to support the French Revolution were held under heavy scrutiny. This included Wollstonecraft. Yet many people continued to look at her work until her death, when her posthumous biography ruined her reputation. Wollstonecraft died in 1797 of puerperal fever, 10 days after giving birth to a daughter, Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin, who later married Percy Bysshe Shelley and wrote the classic book Frankenstein. In 1798, Wollstonecraft's grieving husband, William Godwin, wrote her biography, Memoirs of the Author of A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. In it, he revealed that his wife had had a previous child out of wedlock, attempted suicide twice, and failed to call on God as she lay dying. This had a catastrophic effect, not only on Wollstonecraft's reputation, but on the worth of her philosophical work. Many people denounced the Vindication of Rights of Woman as an explicit manual for the corruption of young women. In fact, the Rights of Woman wanted women to remain chaste and feminine, and to tend to their domestic duties. But in addition, it also called for better education, increased respect, political representation, and financial independence for women. The work attempted to give to women a small portion of what the recent political revolutions had given to men. Wollstonecraft had spoken of rights as they related to women for the first time. Many readers were sympathetic to the work, at least in part, but the scandals of the memoirs ensured that the more radical notions, which had made the work unique, would be rejected by that generation and many more to come. In America, Wollstonecraft's Rights of Woman was hardly spoken of until the memoirs caused readers to view the treatise in a different light. Then, in the presidential election of 1800, the memoirs achieved an unprecedented notoriety, when Wollstonecraft's indiscretions were exploited for use in slander against the Democrat-Republican candidate for president, Thomas Jefferson. Federalist magazines and newspapers associated Jefferson with the loose morals of Wollstonecraft and the ideals of the French Revolution. Jefferson managed to win the election in a 36-ballot runoff, but this did not redeem Wollstonecraft's reputation. She came to represent all women who desired increased independence and representation in government, or simply spoke their minds. This type of female was demonized as a virago, or hyena in petticoats, and was placed at the heart of a conservative backlash against the role of women in society. What formed in its place was the idea of a Republican mother, a backhanded solution to Wollstonecraft's reforms and those inspired in women by the American Revolution. The notion of the Republican mother taught women to value their place in the home as their means of affecting politics. They were to be educated simply so that they could manage a household and educate their sons to be good Republicans and future leaders. This solution effectively silenced the call for the reform of women's rights in America for the next 40 years, until 1847, when the women's movement adopted the rights of woman for their Bible and launched their campaign at Seneca Falls under the direction of Elizabeth Cady Stanton. The effect of Wollstonecraft's life and work on the role of women in America can be seen in many works written at the turn of the 18th to the 19th century, such as the novels of Charles Brockden Brown, America's first canonical writer, the plays of William Dunlap, the most prolific dramatist of the period, the speaking tour of Deborah Sampson Gannett, the infamous cross-dressing female soldier from the Revolutionary War, and the satirical poetry of Benjamin Silliman, a chemistry teacher at Yale and a member of the Hartford Wits. Wollstonecraft's name faded from print, but not from the public consciousness, as these works and others like them perpetuated her philosophy.